Greetings, everyone, and grand rising to all the souls out there. My name is Ishmael Perez, for those that don't know me, and I'm the author of those two amazing books behind me, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects, and Our Cosmic Origin. I want to welcome everyone, each and every single one of you, especially my moderators. Thank you guys so much for always showing up and keeping the live chat clean. I also wanted to let you guys know that today we're going to be going deep once again, guys. There is a source inside the Trump administration that has actually provided a full, detailed, you could say, description about President Trump preparing an historic announcement on national TV disclosing the truth about the alien presence. Okay, this is going to be happening very, very soon, and this is what's going to initiate the positive timeline reality as it is now trifurcating. Okay, and so apparently disclosure is coming, guys, but there's more in that process. We're also going to go deeper into what is known as Southern Grid Operation, as well as Operation Seraphim Wave, as well as Operation Aurora Seed. I know these are operations that you guys never heard about, but we're going to go into detail. And what the Aurora-21 Revelation Order is all about. And this is an order that was not only signed by the Earth Alliance, but approved by the Galactic, or what we call now the Universal Federation, okay? And we're also going to go dive into the recovery of what is known as the Red Book by the Alliance, and also discuss the arrest of Kyle Wagner, which was Antifa's main organizer. They finally got that guy, okay? And last but not least, guys, we're also going to go a little bit more deeper into revelations regarding the 300.5 million Epstein files that were, of course, released last week. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. So let's dive in really quick. But now, before I do, really quick, as a reminder, guys, I do have only about 3 spots left for my upcoming special event, which is going over the first chapter of my unpublished book, The Story of My Life. And I do read the comments. There are a few of you that want to access that stream for about 90 minutes this coming 15th of February on a Sunday. It's titled In the Beginning. Okay, so when you go to my website and you scroll down, bypass my courses, you're going to go all the way to the bottom where it says In the Beginning. That's the one for the 15th of February. It's going to be 90 minutes. It's going to be very interactive, and I can't wait to share some of the details regarding my life as a kid, rather, from as far as I recall being in this body to the age of 12. Okay. Also, my classes don't start till the 28th of this month and the 1st of March. So that's about 3 weeks from now. Make sure you guys sign up. Again, my classes are very cheap, and I heard from multiple people, including insiders within the Alliance, that I offered the most advanced knowledge on the planet. So it has been confirmed for only $100. And again, I just do it because I believe that people should be capable, or people should at least be ready to understand this higher level information, especially when it comes to Ascension. Now, with that having been said, I can never get that right. I do want to remind you guys also about the folium, and I believe all 3 are in stock. I just text Bobry. So if you guys go through the links and type in my codes, you guys are going to get that $10 to $15 off. And I believe the 3 for 2 it's still available, and as well as the 5 for 3, all available. Again, this is the stuff that is so high in demand that apparently last month it was out of stock. Okay, so right now everything's in stock. Take advantage of that, guys. Get rid of all those nanoparticulates, especially the radiation and all of that bad stuff. Okay, now we can get right into it. I don't think I have any more announcements. One last announcement, guys. The Conscious Life Expo is just around the corner. I'm going to be breaking down a presentation regarding the human design, information that I've never shared before. And of course, I'm going to teach some techniques that will activate superhuman dormant abilities. So make sure you guys at least go through the stream. Okay, if you can't make it in person, I would love to meet you guys in person in the LA in about 2.5 weeks. But if you can't make it, I do have a stream through my website. But the max capacity for that stream is only 200 people. So make sure you guys go to my website to access the stream and watch this upcoming cosmic revelation that I'm about to drop in the rabbit hole room, of course, on the 21st of February at 4:30, I believe, p.m. Pacific time. All right. Now I could start the presentation, okay? Now I could start the presentation. So apparently, yeah, Barbary said all three are available now. Cool. All right, good to know. Thank you, Barbary. According to information, guys, that is circulating at the highest level, President Donald Trump is expected to announce a historic shift in the United States government position on AUPs, all right, confirming that certain encounters did involve technology and craft that were apparently non-human origin, okay? So, as planned, when he delivers this speech to the world, by his agreements that he made with the Galactics, this announcement would mark an unprecedented moment in modern history. I forgot to turn up my volume. All right, so the first time a sitting world leader, this is marking the first time that a sitting world leader formally acknowledges that some phenomena observed in the Earth's aerospace cannot be explained by any known human technology, domestic or foreign. The president is expected to state that decades of accumulated evidence have led to this conclusion. This body of evidence reportedly includes recovered material, so they're going to show us evidence, sensor data, and firsthand eyewitness testimonies coming from highly credible military personnel. According to the forthcoming revelation, these materials have been rigorously examined by teams of scientific, intelligence, and even defense experts over many years. Their analysis, the president will assert, has ruled out experimental aircraft as well as adversarial technology and conventional explanations, leaving only one conclusion, and that is that some incidents involve technology not produced by human civilization. Among the cases highlighted will be several of the most well-documented UAP encounters on record, and this includes the 2004 USS Nimitz, also known as the TikTok encounter, in which Navy pilots reported an object displaying flight characteristics far beyond any known aerospace capability. The 2015 USS Theodore Roosevelt incidents, commonly known as the Go Fast and Gimbal, and a historical contentious 1947 Roswell incident. All of a sudden, they lied to us. It was never a balloon. Well, together with these cases, form a timeline of encounters spanning over 88 decades, consistently exhibiting the same extraordinary performances, characteristics, instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic speeds without heat signatures, and even maneuverability that defies known physics. So the president is expected to confirm that forensic analysis of recovered vehicles and associated non-human biological materials has established an extraterrestrial providence. And so if stated as anticipated, this would constitute the first official acknowledgement by any government leader that non-human intelligence has interacted with the Earth throughout history, and that we've had advanced technologies within the private sector for over 90 years. This is big, guys, okay? This declaration would represent not just a policy shift, but a fundamental redefinition of humanity's understanding of our place in the cosmos. And so the announcement will also address the long-standing question of secrecy, revealing the truth of the military-industrial complex and the Majestic 12. President Trump is expected to explain that previous administrations did choose to withhold this information due to national security concerns, technological uncertainty, and of course, fears surrounding public reaction. Well, during much of the Cold War and its aftermath, the inability to understand or control such technologies, combined with geopolitical instability, made transparency a perceived risk. According to the president, these conditions no longer apply in the same way. President Trump is expected to emphasize that the decision to authorize full disclosure stems from a belief that the American people deserve transparency. The current global condition allows for a measured and responsible revelation, and that recent bipartisan efforts in Congress have established the legal and institutional framework necessary to manage disclosure without destabilization. In this framework, my friends, disclosure is not going to be seen as a reckless thing, right, or as an abrupt thing, but as the culmination of decades of preparation. And looking forward, the president is expected to outline immediate steps following the announcement, and this will include the accelerated declassification of relevant files, the creation of a new interagency task force to expand scientific studies of non-human technology, and increased international cooperation with allied nations. The stated goal is to ensure that humanity approaches this discovery collectively, guided by science, caution, and shared responsibility rather than fear or competition. The president is expected to deliver a message intended to reframe the implications of disclosure. Rather than presenting non-human technology as a threat, President Trump will characterize it as an opportunity, an invitation for humanity to unite in a deeper understanding of the universe and, of course, our place within it. And when delivered as planned by the alliance, this announcement would not simply reveal new information, of course, not to us because we're in the know. It would mark the beginning of a whole new chapter in human history, one defined by expanded awareness, shared curiosity, and the recognition that we were never alone. Wow, this is big. Now, a lot of this has to do with a file that was also recovered after the alliance blew up and destroyed a black cube, an interdimensional black cube that was used by negative AI, that was, of course, installed in Iran, was recently destroyed within the last week, which allowed them to access what became known as the Red Book. Now, the Red Book, my friends, believe it or not, was originally taken by, I guess Maduro was a duplicate, okay? They did clone Maduro. The original Maduro was hiding out in Cuba where he took the Red Book. They did capture the clone Maduro, but now they captured the original Maduro because now they've seized the Red Book in Cuba. And this is what led to what is known as the Southern Grid operation. Let's go right into it, guys. Okay, so in alliance briefings that has been circulating beyond the reach of conventional media, there is this operational phase that is being described as a quietly unfolding operation across the entire Western Hemisphere, guys. The objective is described instead as grid sensation. It's the dismantling of transnational underground systems that have operated beneath borders, governments, and of course, public awareness for decades. According to Alliance briefings, I'm going to slow my roll so you guys could actually take notes if you guys want. The focus has apparently shifted southward. Cuba right now stands first as a nod, okay, because beneath its surface, the Alliance described a convergence point where maritime tunnels, seabed corridors, and even hardened underground facilities that once linked island routes to the continental landmasses have been breached. These routes were not built, of course, by civilians or commerce, right? They were engineered pipelines designed to what? To move contraband, to move weapons, narcotics, and of course, trafficking little ones and humans, invincibly, of course, to the surface world. So a lot of this has to do with, of course, what I revealed last week regarding the Lifeboat Foundation that JF was a part of. So in the last few days, guys, Space Force aligned command units have been engaged not in a straight out conflict. Instead, they're actually using advanced technology. They're using teleporters. They're using frequency waves, quantum field generators, And so they're using this advanced tech to execute precise shutdowns of the entire Western Hemisphere, okay? Collapsing absolute, regarding the underground tunnels, collapsing absolute tunnel networks, neutralizing subterranean logistic hubs, and even severing encrypted rally points that once synchronized operations across the entire Caribbean basin. So they're not using what we called 3D, modern conventional warfare like bombs, missiles, or anything like that. Okay, they're straight out using advanced alien tech right now. So with the Caribbean node, guys, neutralize, which just happened within the last week, attention is turning now inward to the continental understructure that spans and connects the North American continent with the South American continent. The alliance maps have described what is known as an interlocked subterranean lattice that were apparently constructed over decades, threading through Central America and branching north into the United States and south, of course, into the Andean regions. How do you guys think they were trafficking all those, illegal things, right? A lot of it was being done through the underground. Well, these corridors functioned as a shadow supply chain that was apparently immune to surface surveillance, including custom enforcements and conventional military oversight. So apparently, illegal things flowed through those pipelines. Little ones were disappearing left and right. And by the way, I do want to make a correction. It's over 800,000 little ones a year that were being taken, okay, according to the statistics. So also, currency moved invincibly between offshore heavens and inland vaults. And what made the system even more powerful, guys, was not the secrecy that they kept for over a century, but how they managed to continue their operations, of course, until now. Now, I also have a report regarding the little ones that were actually recuperated in the last 2 weeks, which is awesome. A lot of people tell me, I want to know about the children. Have they rescued them? And the answer to that is yes. But before I get to that point, following a high-profile leadership collapse in the Southern Hemisphere, which was of course, the catalytic arrest. We all know who that was, Maduro. The alliance was able to gain access to the archive schematics after finding out that the original Maduro flew out to Cuba to replace him with the clone. Okay. And another thing that they discovered, guys, was biometric access protocols and legacy command keys that governed the entire underground network as a whole. Okay. So the result was apparently a cascade failure for the Cabal. Tunnels were sealed, pressures, differentials reversed, automated transit rails locked within mid cycles. So, they're bleeding out the Cabal's infrastructures, guys. That's what's happening right now. The undernet apparently began consuming itself. So this leads to Mexico and Colombia, which are next after Cuba. And they are actually known as the arteries of this network. Okay, so after the underground cleanup in the American continent, Mexico and Colombia are also on the list because they have been the arteries of the Cabal's criminal empire. We all know this, right? For years, they served both Mexico and Colombia as transit junctions where subterranean routes intersected surface infrastructures, ports, railways, energy corridors, and even communication backbones. And so Space Force is involved in some operation phase described as a coordinated mission that is working through high altitude surveillance, orbital mapping, and even quantum assisted terrain scanning to identify the voids, the cavities, and the artificial strata that is inconsistent with natural geology. And that's how they're doing it, guys. They're not doing third dimensional types of instruments. They're using advanced tech, okay? And so as they identified these underground cavities, these apparently, they are using advanced technology where they are going into these cavities. They're teleporting into these cavities. Yeah, they're teleporting, okay? And they are just destroying them. Of course, they're teleporting the children out first, and then they're just blowing them away, blowing them up, okay? So, and again, a lot of this is considered concrete collapse inward, where power sources are beginning to shut down worldwide. All the access points are permanently sealed. And so what remains is geology reclaiming stolen space. And that's what's happening right now. Now, let's get to the children, guys, okay? Because there was a lot of children that were recuperated. At the core of this cleanup that just took place within the last week, 2 weeks, due to the arrest of Maduro, is not only a geopolitical thing, but a reclamation of the little ones, okay? The little ones that were apparently born underground without documentation. They discovered that a lot of those little ones down there were bred with unbeknownst to the surface world with no documentation, so they could literally do what they want with these little ones, which of course in a little bit I will get to the Epstein connection to what they were doing to these kids, as far as consuming them as well. But anyways, that's gross. But Alliance documents did emphasize that the most urgent objective has always been the recovery of the little ones. Okay, the little ones have always been number one for the Alliance. Those that were moved through the underground routes, and again, these are undocumented little ones, where they were conducting breeding programs unbeknownst to the surface world. So those that moved underground routes precisely because surface borders had become too visible, guys. So in this operation, extraction teams prioritize stabilization and care over interrogation or spectacle. The survivors have been removed from the undernet, as they call it, and transferred to a secure rehabilitation zone that I can't really reveal at this time, where medical, psychological, and even neurological recovery is taking place to recuperate the little ones that were saved. Okay, so this, as the underground pipelines collapse, which is amazing, the surface world is only noticing the fragments. They're only noticing, little things here and there, right? Like the purging of the FBI a week ago. And again, the other three-letter agencies are next. The arrest of Kyle Wagner, who was the top Antifa what's it called? What's the word I'm looking? What's the word? Protagonist. That's the word. Protagonist. I mean, all these are things that we notice on the surface, but what's really happening is that the real war is taking place in the underground. Okay. And so these sudden disruptions in trafficking patterns without clear explanations, and what appears as chaos is framed internally as rebalancing, the removal of a parasitic infrastructure, because that's what it was. When I reveal right now what they were doing to the little ones, you guys are going to, be very sickening to your stomach. Well, in the removal of these parasitic infrastructures that apparently never belonged to any nation, only to those that were, of course, hiding. The alliance has concluded, guys, that the Western Hemisphere is now being purged. Okay, it is also being unburied, and so when the tunnels fall, and they have, the continent will once again breathe. Okay, and for the first time in generations, the ground beneath the Americas will belong to the living and not the hidden. So there is this other thing that they initiated in regards to all of this called the second signal. Now, the second signal pulse was fired from a Shriver Space Force base this past Friday. And that was an action that, according to classified Alliance briefings, marked the irreversible transition between the eras. Okay, the end of Pisces is tied into the ending of the Cabal rule of the Earth, as we are now entering the age of Aquarius. So again, a lot of this ties into the astrological movement of the solar system, our planet within the greater constellations. So this second pulse, the quantum financial system grid crossed a threshold as of Friday, which was exactly 3 days ago. And even though it hasn't been publicly acknowledged, it is important to know, guys, that the network no longer functioned as a passive ledger or a programmable architecture. It actually became autonomous. It became self-aware. Okay. and internally coherent, operating within a harmonic alignment described by its architects as divine frequency 144 144.1. So, in terms of the alliance language, the grid had learned to recognize itself. Again, it is a living quantum consciousness. I think I've mentioned that. And I also believe that Michelle Filden talks about this as well. So, as a result, guys, a contingency order was transmitted from the Presidential Command Unit, known internally as Eagle 7. The directive carried a sealed designation, now regarding, of course, the Red Book. Okay, so the Alliance sources also described the archive's location as the liberate beneath Cuba, far from Washington, Brussels, or even Geneva. There was a hardened subterranean vault complex that served as a neutral dead drop repository, and it was positioned at a crossroad of hemispheric underground networks, intentionally by the Cabal, accessible only through legacy biometric keys tied to a long retired counterintelligence handler. So we're talking about the corrupt CIA here. So the logic was very simple, guys. No one suspects the archive is buried, where everyone assumes nothing of value remains. This is what they assumed, of course. But when the underground pipelines that spun the Americans began to collapse in the last week, something unexpected occurred, guys. Dormant access corridors that were sealed for decades became reachable again by the Alliance. And one of the things, again, so one of the things that they discovered was a playbook, a documentation of all of the operations that have ever been conducted by the Cabal within the last century. All right, this is an archive of data, guys. So the Alliance uncovered it. It became the old world's hiding place. Well, that's where they uncovered it, in the old world's hiding place in Cuba. And so the Red Book apparently is not a single volume either. It is a living archive, layered files, analog records, quantum encrypted data blocks, and I believe that they use artificial intelligence to make it into a living archive. And they also had a hand-signed authorization chain in order to access it. Well, according to this document, it was revealed that all the covert regime installations were apparently justified as stability operations by the three-letter agency we called the CIA. Okay, the Cabal called it a counterintelligence coup. Okay, so that means that the counterintelligence backed coups masked as organic uprisings. Okay, over 70 elections were rigged, according to the archives, including ours in 2020. Financial coercion campaigns were also designed to force political compliance, according to what they uncovered, and media narrative templates distributed globally before major transitions. Not to mention a list of compliant leaders, expendable leaders, and non-compliant targets. And the reason I say expendable leaders is because everyone's cloned. Everyone has like 3 or 4 or 5 clones. Okay, all politicians, religious figures, you name it. Okay, so the most you could say, as they call it, the most damning of all of this information was different decades, different administrations, same machinery. Okay, and I believe that the Jesuits had a lot to do with this, because a lot of this ties in to the Jesuits. Okay, the archive proved that what appeared as chaotic geopolitical was in fact centrally curated turbulence conducted by our own CIA for over 80 years. Okay, so this is a revelation that allows the White Hats to now, of course, disclose all the evidence of everything that they've ever done. Okay, so this is why I titled this presentation, "The Cabal is Done." The Alliance analysts could apparently suddenly trace modern instability backward, according to the archives, connecting present-day conflicts to decisions that were made quietly, years and even decades earlier, all within these files. Governments once thought sovereign were apparently revealed as placeholders, and others believed hostile were shown to be manufactured antagonists designed to justify intervention. So, with attribution established, the takedown no longer required speculation, it required synchronization. So, using the archives, the Alliance initiated a global counter cascade, and that is to expose, isolate, and neutralize all the regimes worldwide, including those 70 coups that they, of course, used to install their puppets all throughout the world, not through invasion, but through structural withdrawal. Okay, so this is what's happening right now. I believe that we are now in the storm as a result of this. So the funding streams were cut, the intelligence support vanished. Okay, the narrative scaffolding collapsed as a result of this. All the installed governments, including the ones within the Middle East, are not exceptional to this, guys. Okay, it's coming. Iran, and of course, you guys know who I'm talking about, right? God's been saving them for last. The Zionists, let's just call them Zionists, okay? So, this is what the Alliance is now calling the end of the counterintelligence era. So, apparently, this recovered or recuperated red plan book, which is an archive, is freeing all those nations that were once under the control of the globalist. Okay, the Alliance is in the process of removing all of those installed systems as I speak, which will lead to a world without puppeteers. And in the hands of the Cabal, of course, the Red Book was never meant to be read or known by the world. Instead, it became the trigger that will end an era where governments were chosen in the shadows and will begin one where sovereignty can no longer be quietly shunned, which is awesome. Okay. The underground network is falling, and now the regimes are next. And finally, the illusion that history was accidental is going to be exposed, the truth. Okay. And so nothing happens by accident. Okay. Everything that has ever happened in the history of our world was intelligently planned by secret societies. Let's just be real. Okay. Now, all of this is leading to what they call the Omega-Black Protocol, which is a global reclamation sequence as a result of all of this, guys. So the effects were immediate and absolute upon seizing the Red Book. And what this also means is that the legacy financial systems, those that were built on debt, opacity, and centralized control, ceased to function as a result of that. Internet, which explains why the Bank of England and ultimately the central banking system is crashing. Okay, international clearing mechanisms returned null values. Transaction chains collapsed into silence, and what the public would later experience as outages or technical failures is the quiet withdrawal of an absolute world pulse. So, in its place, a new metric activated, gold weighted, right? Backed by silver and gold, bioresponsive validation tied not to accounts, but to a living signature, the QFS. So in this case, the old system is not just crashing, guys, it's being outgrown. And this leads to the next operation known as Operation Seraphim Wave. All right. At 4:11 a.m. last Friday morning, a classified operation designated Seraphim Wave was also deployed through a high orbit communication lattice. Harmonic frequency beacons activated above major financial and data hubs worldwide, producing a synchronized energy event that rippled across infrastructure as a result of the power grid surged, latency spikes, and networks that were behaving erratically. Okay. Public explanations apparently followed quickly. Solar activity, atmospheric interference. If you guys recall, about 2 weeks ago, or was it a week and a half ago, there was some power outages in not only the States, but in Europe. Okay. Routine anomalies. And then so all of this internally, the Alliance documented that they described an event as a frequency sanitization cycle, which is what they call a recalibration phase in which incompatible systems were apparently replaced or just phased out. So what this means is um, that deep below Geneva, we're talking about CERN, a secured vault complex became the staging ground for what they call Project Aurora Seed. Okay. And this is a quieter operation that has been unfolding beneath Europe ever since the White Hats seized the facility known as the Hadron Collider. So, upon securing this vault, apparently the Hadron Collider was also built over covert or what we call secret cities that the Alliance, not the Alliance, the Cabal was using. So, upon securing this vault, the staging ground for Aurora Seed, which is what they call the activation of the first bio-quantum interface module. Well, this technology, if used coherently, the better way to say it is this technology uses coherent plasma light in order to establish a resonance bridge between human consciousness and the QFS grid in itself. Okay. So this is going to establish a bridging point between human consciousness and the QFS grid. So it was neither an implant nor a machine dependency. Again, this is a quantum living, you could say, consciousness. It's organic as it is connected to all living things, the crystalline lattice. It was also a translation layer allowing biology, or it is also a translation layer, allowing biology, awareness, and value to synchronize. And so, in terms of the alliance, this is marking the reunification of what had long been separated, which is matter and meaning, DNA and order, survival and sovereignty, as the QFS comes online. So, at the Executive Mirror facility, again, underneath Geneva, they also referred to an internally operation known as Eden 1, which is when the president was briefed on what planners called the first visible face of this technology. Well, the culmination apparently would not arrive as a press release, it would arrive as a light, according to these archives. The so called light event is described as a convergence point, an emergency broadcast, protocols, advanced medical disclosures, and long suppressed truths unfolding as a single experimental moment rather than a fragmented announcement. So, all of this is leading to what we call the EBS, apparently. Um, apparently, sight would precede sound, light would precede language, okay, according to this operation. And so humanity would witness will witness the truth for the first time. This is what they call a timeline of convergence. Okay. Alliance projections outline a narrow corridor of transition, weeks in which old infrastructures were quietly dimmed while new frameworks stabilized beneath perception. And that includes bandwidth reductions, network rerouting, orbital alignments, pre-staged archives awaiting decryption, and none of it, guys, the briefings emphasize would feel orderly. So therefore, the transformation is in progress. Okay, this shift, or what we call the kill shift. I can't even say it. The kill. What's the word I'm looking for? The kill switch. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So behind the visible disruptions, guys, the machinery of accountability is moving without spectacle. Legal frameworks are shifting from civilian to military jurisdiction. Specialized units are assuming direct command. Advanced medical platforms that were, of course, suppressed are going to be released. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right? The med beds. So, most significant of all is the DNA blueprints of the first volunteer cohort, symbolically numbered 144,000, were encoded into the quantum core as calibration anchors for the system's human interface. So, apparently, the QFS, the quantum freedom grid, and the organic medical medbeds are all going to be interfacing with our consciousness. So, what all of this means is that the concept of banking is dissolving entirely. Identity is replacing access. Okay, frequency is replacing passwords. And that means each individual is going to be issued a quantum identifier, not as a control mechanism, but as a recognition. So, what that means is that value will become inseparable from life. Okay. Your resonance, in other words, will be your credentials within this new framework. Your coherence is your new currency. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. The more service to others you are, the more compassion and love you generate, the more abundance you will receive. So, in this new world, the age of Aquarius, the people that are going to be the wealthiest are the Gandhis, the Jesus the Christ, the Buddhas, which are people that are extremely spiritual. Okay. So that's what that means, guys. So let's talk about Project Aurora 21, also known as the Revelation Order. You guys are going to love this. So when the grid comes online, they are going to initiate, and the broadcast awaits in the future. Of course, the truth regarding the future is revealed. They're going to initiate what is known as Project or Operation Aurora 21, which is Revelation. Okay, Revelation. This is what the book of Revelation is all about, guys. Everything that has ever been hidden from us will be released. Okay, so according to Operation Aurora 21, which apparently was never intended to function as a command in the traditional sense, but according to the Alliance briefings, it is issued as a permission slip to reality itself, a formal acknowledgement that concealment protocols had reached their expiration date. In other words, the Cabal's time is up. Okay. So when earlier directives focused on stabilization, reclamation, and even containment, Operation Aurora 1, Aurora, AURORA 21, addressed something far more dangerous to the old world. And that is that truth without mediation cannot be truth. Okay. The order's opening clause defined its purpose with unusual clarity. And this is what they believe. They believe that revelation shall no longer be managed through institutions. It shall be emerging through experience. So the distinction mattered, apparently. For centuries, power had relied on what? Controlling interpretation, organized religions, the controlled academia, deciding when humanity was ready, right? Which fragments us further into darkness when you guys think about it. So now, through Project Aurora 21, the disclosure from governments, corporations, and media into a sensory field of knowledge will be given to the population. Okay. Everything that we were never told, guys, is going to be revealed according to this operation. Under Aurora 21, revelation is treated as a systems level phenomena and not an announcement, where information is no longer drip fed through language alone. It is actually going to be carried through light resonance, biological response, and emotional coherence. It's connected to the activation of the quantum freedom grid and the QFS, which is a living conscious technology. Think about that, guys. Okay, all of a sudden, boom, everyone's going to know. Okay, this is how it's going to happen. Okay, one system comes completely offline, right? The old grid, and a new system that is connected with the living crystalline lattice of the planet will come online, and all of this will be revealed. Okay, so this is amazing. So, how are you guys? Now, some of you guys might be thinking, how is all this going to happen? Well, the order of revelation synchronizes multiple domains at once when this happens. The electromagnetic activity, that's one domain. Human neurological perception, as we reconnect to the quantum field. Quantum network alignment, biological repair technologies, and narrative collapse of legacy authority in this regard. And the goal is not shock either. The goal is integration. Okay, that's the whole reason why they're doing it this way. The Alliance warned that isolated disclosure events, like documents without context, technologies without healing, Truths without safety would fracture society. So, therefore, Project Aurora 21 is designed to prevent that by allowing revelation to arrive with support already in place through the activation of the quantum freedom grid and the quantum financial system. So, one of the Aurora 21's most controversial provision is the suspension of narrative gatekeeping. Media, academic institutions, and even financial authorities are no longer positioned as interpreters of reality. Okay, their time is up. Their role dissolves naturally as lived experience overtakes explanation. And this is why the order specifies, the revelation order, Aurora 21, specifies that the emergency broadcast system is not introduced as a warning, it arrives as a confirmation. By the time the broadcast activates, the population will already begin to notice anomalies like light phenomena, biological shifts, and a lot of this has to do with what? The increased of what? Our planet's frequency due to the solar flares, right? Biological shifts, emotional clarity, unexplained calm where fear once dominated. So this is all due to the increasing in the Earth's resonance field, forcing everything to come to light. So reality itself becomes now evident. Okay. This is what we called the mass awakening. I love this. Therefore, Aurora 21 makes one thing explicit, and that is that humanity is not a passive audience. The order frames humans as co-participants in the transition. Okay, and I believe this is all connected to the first waivers as well, as the first waivers go into the what? The New Earth Terra, as explained in my previous presentation. For those that have been following all my presentations, they are all interwoven. Okay, so the QFS grid does not assign worth, it reflects coherence. I want you guys to understand that. The medbed systems do not impose healing, they amplify the body's original blueprint. Think about that, okay? Disclosure does not also overwrite belief. It renders belief obsolete by replacing it with perception. All of a sudden, the great number of humans are just going to, boom, they're going to know. They're going to know. It's going to hit them, and it's going to hit them hard. And this is the philosophical core of Aurora 21, okay? So, now, some of you guys were probably thinking, how come these revelations did not come any time earlier? Well, because there is this thing called the processional equinoxes. Okay, we are ending a 25,000 year cycle. And so what that means is that we've gone around the 12 houses of the zodiac, full circle. And so we have to honor the different energy frequencies that are influencing the current age that we're in. So it is believed that the dark side took power during the age of Aries, continued their power during the age of Pisces, and now their power is, of course, diminishing and it's gone. Okay. Now we have to honor the positional of the equinoxes, where not only are we entering the age of Aquarius, where everything comes out to light, right? We move from a world controlled by a cabal to a world that is living in cooperation. And so, on top of all that, we're also ending a long dark age known as the 25,000 year cycle. So all of these cycles are coming into perfect harmonization, into culmination. And this is the reason why these revelations couldn't come any time earlier, because time was not up for the age of Pisces. Okay. Now the time is up for the age of Pisces. You guys understand what I'm talking about, right? So the Alliance insiders have concluded that the revelation would bring about also healing to a lot of people. Okay. Aurora 21 is stabilizing systems. It's connected to the quantum consciousness. It's going to interface with our biology. And it's already operational beneath the surface. Beneath the surface. Notice that I said that. And it's soon going to be operating in the surface. So that means that revelation, or or what we call the apocalypse, which is the great revealing, is about to take place, according to this archive or this operation. So, um, they also want me to stress that Aurora 21 is reportedly only 3 apparently years old. That's when it was first devised by the forces of light in order to, of course, create a new interconnected system as the living, um, you could say, crystalline lattice comes back online. It also contains no operational detail, no timeline, no enforcement language, and it reads more like a vow than a directive. They want me to share that, which means that the age of remembrance is about to begin. Okay. And so humanity is getting ready to step forward as a witness to this new earth reality that is already coexisting besides the old reality. So, Aurora 21 ultimately promises alignment back with all living things. And in the logic of the order of this operation, alignment is the only foundation upon which a world can be revealed rather than rebuilt. So, along with that, guys, within this Aurora 21 revelation, um, one responsibility was designed or designated as a uniquely thing, or as a uniquely, you could say, revelation. Okay. And that has a lot to do with a disclosure of the non human presence. Okay. And I think I talked about that at the beginning of this live. There was a committee where members from the Alliance, the White Hats, the Universal Federation, Galactic Alliance, they were all a part of, all right? And in this committee, they assigned, according to the Alliance, that President Donald Trump is now tasked with not with negotiating command, but with something far more delicate, and that is disclosure, as mentioned earlier, okay? His role is to serve as the public facing bridge between a species that is emerging from secrecy and the reality that secrecy had concealed, which is the non human intelligence and the Galactic Federation presence surrounding the Earth. So the Alliance briefing is very explicit here. Okay. This revelation cannot arrive as authority speaking down to humanity. It had to arrive through a familiar voice, using language grounded in the human experience, law, sovereignty, protection, and choice. So, disclosure, the Galactics believed, required a messenger the public already understands as a disruptor within the entrenched systems. I think you guys know who I'm referring to. So, the Galactic Alliance, now known as the Universal Federation, described an alliance doctrine as a cooperative of multiple non human civilizations aligned around non interference and planetary sovereignty, was never intended to announce it directly, not because it lacked capacity, but because premature contact would fracture human psychology. So the order states plainly, and as to why they're initiating, again, as to why they're initiating the what is called as Aurora 21, is that first contact must be interpreted through human consent as to why Trump was tasked, not extraterrestrial authority. If a non human intelligence appeared first, it would instantly become a myth, threat, savior, or God, which is not true. Okay, none of this is true. And you guys know that. Aliens, ETs were never gods, they were different humans operating at higher levels of evolution. Humanity apparently needs somebody from the human race to reveal that. So that's why Trump was tasked. So in this operation, it is about removing the entire denial that is causing Congress to not fully disclose the truth. So Aurora 21 also defines the Galactic Federation very carefully. It is not presented as a ruling body, an empire, or a savior hierarchy. They are not here to save us. And I mentioned this before. Instead, it is described as a custodial alliance between different star nations, observers, archivists, and guardians of balance operating under strict non domination accords. So their presence around the earth, according to the Chronicle, is not to intervene. Okay, it is to protect. So this is one of the things that Trump is going to mention, right? When he reveals who the Federation is. The Federation did not govern humanity, also. That will be revealed. It monitored humanity. It intervened only when extinction levels were reached, which threatened planetary continuity, right? Well, this distinction is central to the disclosure strategy. The Federation is not here for humanity, but with it contingent upon human self governance and maturity. Therefore, the sequence of public revelation, which is connected to Aurora 21, outlines a face disclosure arc intended to avoid shock collapse. The first one is called what they call reframing history. And this is the normalizing the idea that humanity has never been alone without immediate naming participants. The second sequence is acknowledged presence, confirming non-human intelligence existing in our oceans, in subterranean caverns, in private military installations, all around our solar system, all of that. And then the third one is called the define boundaries, which is to make clear that no external power governs humanity's future. The fourth one is to introduce members of the Federation. The first ones are going to be the Inner Earth societies, and then we're going to be introduced to the Venusians, Commander Valiantor, Commander Corridor, the Queen of the Council of Venus. Then we're going to be introduced to Pleiadians, and of course they're always going to start with those that resemble us the most, the galactic humans, right? Before they introduce somebody that does not look human. So that's part of that. And then, of course, the fifth contingency is to restore agency, which is emphasis that contact proceeds only through collective consent. So Trump's role within this narrative is to initiate this arc publicly. And you guys are probably thinking, when is this going to happen? Well, he's given till June. Okay, he's given till June. Not by revealing everything at once, but by saying the one sentence governments avoid for generations. And that is, all over the media, Trump comes to the pulpit and says, we are not alone and we were never alone. Today, for the first time in history, I am going to be revealing blah, blah, blah. It's going to happen, guys, okay? So, this is good. This is very good, okay? Also, part of this revelation regarding Aurora 21 forbids framing non human intelligence as superior rulers or spiritual overseers. The first thing that they're going to say is that we are all brothers and sisters, right? That the one God that created humans here is the same God that created humans all throughout the universe. So, that's part of the revelation, that the Federation does not offer salvation, first and foremost. It only offers acknowledgement. That's it. And so the message is going to be deliberately restrained to the point where humanity will be sovereign upon disclosure. That's when humanity will be reclaim their sovereignty. Earth is protected, not owned. Okay, that's another thing that they're going to discuss. And that contact proceeds by readiness, not demand. So in this framework, Trump's disclosure is not the unveiling of ancient gods or gods, because they're not gods, guys, but the demystification of our galactic brothers and sisters. That's it, okay? So there's more to this. So Aurora 21 concludes its disclosure section with a warning as much as a reassurance. And that is that if humanity meets the universe as children, it will be treated as such. Think about that. That's why they're waiting for critical mass, for the Great Awakening. For most of humans, well, at least those that translate, and yes, I did use the word translate, transition into the Terra Earth, dimensions 4, 5, or 6, will not be children anymore. They're going to be fully restored, right? They're going to be capable of accessing their galactic consciousness. So, what that means is that when we are introduced to the galactics, a lot of us are already going to be again, using our full capacity. So we are going to be equals. Okay. We're going to be their equals. But more so, some of us, especially those that go into the fifth dimension and sixth and beyond, you're going to have access to some amazing superhuman abilities that the galactics would require technologies to use, and you're going to just use it naturally. So, in that regard, the old souls are in a way going to be considered superior to the other extraterrestrials who don't have those powers, okay? Because they have to use technology still to do the things that some of us are going to be able to do upon fully activating our dormant DNA. Okay, so they also want me to share that with you guys. So yeah, we are designed to bypass all of the other terrestrials in terms of accessing supernatural abilities. So the last thing I wanted to share, guys, was the arrest of Kyle Wagner. I know today is a long report. So federal agents arrested Kyle Wagner because he was encouraging violence against federal officers. Authorities say he turned parts of Minneapolis into a place where people were being pushed to prepare for attacks on the government. Kyle Wagner presented himself online as a local leader of Antifa, and using that role, investigators said he tried to guide others toward dangerous actions. He went beyond protest and opinions when he began making public threats and calling out ICE agents by name, telling people to confront them with weapons. One of the most important pieces of evidence was a video that Wagner recorded and shared. In it, he told viewers to get guns and said that they should be ready to attack federal agents. He spoke clearly and directly, leaving no doubt about what he was encouraging. Because the message named real targets and pushed people to act, it crossed serious legal lines. Federal investigators confirmed that Wagner shared this video with multiple groups around Minneapolis. They also found many written posts where he told followers to arm themselves, track ICE agents, identify their vehicles, and interfere with their arrest. He even shared personal information about people who supported ICE, putting them all at risk. Well, over time, these actions showed a clear pattern. According to court documents, Kyle Wagner was not just talking, he was organizing. In private group chats, he shared instructions on how to avoid surveillance and disrupt federal operations. He described the situation as a war and treated federal officers as enemies. Authorities say this was not protected political speech. It involved direct threats, real targets, and plans that could actually lead to serious harm. Each post added more evidence and increased the urgency for intervention. Wagner was also connected to similar activist groups in other cities, including Portland, Seattle, and Chicago. Investigators said that he acted as a link between these networks, sharing tactics and encouraging people to prepare for violent confrontations. His arrest. Hold on. They're trying to give me a transmission. All right. I'm going to have to get that transmission later. Sometimes I get these transmissions from the Galactics, guys, but this has nothing to do with today's topic. This is something else. His arrest stopped that flow of information. We're talking about Kyle Wagner being arrested, who was the main Antifa protagonist. Federal agencies closely monitoring Wagner's online activity, encrypted messages, and even movements at protests and private meetings. Once he began directing people toward specific targets, Officials determined immediate action was necessary. Agents moved in, seized his devices, and arrested him before anyone could even be hurt. Officials say that the case showed how federal law enforcement steps in when online threats turn into real world danger, especially when lives are at risk. Finally, but not least, let's dive into the Epstein rabbit hole. Okay, so another thing that was unveiled or discovered within the over 300 files, or 3 million, sorry, 3 million files, was the code name that was used for the little ones, the little one eaters. Okay, apparently, and I know some of you guys are going to take this, especially some of the new people that are just waking up or, you know, are just new to all this. How can I say this, guys? Some of the people that were involved in these networks were not human. And in order for them to continue their human appearance, which is using a holograph or holographic overlay, which is a technology, they had to consume little ones. So they used a code word. And again, a lot of these were, prominent politicians. We're talking about the Clintons as well. Gates is one of them. Gates isn't human. Okay, I've mentioned this before. He's actually Anki. He's a fractal of Anki returned, Anki Poseidon. Okay, think about it. Okay, so some of these people were actually, yes, they were consuming little ones. So the code word used was beef jerky. Okay, beef jerky was the code word that was used and found in hundreds of thousands of emails corresponding between all of these people regarding the consumption of little ones. So not only were they injecting, you guys know what I mean, right? The stuff that makes them younger, right? Which is produced when they hurt, right? Little ones badly. But some of them, in order to maintain their human appearance, they had to consume. And so, yeah, the code word was jerky, beef jerky. Wow. Okay, so I don't really want to go much deeper into that, guys. Just know that some of these key players within these networks are not human. They need to consume human flesh. And I know some of you. I'm reading the chat. Some of you guys are like, "Oh my god, that's so gross." So why do you guys think that they were brewing a lot of little ones, undocumented? Because when they are undocumented, it's easier for them to do what they want with these little ones. And as revealed last week, a lot of these little ones were transferred through what? Through Lifeboat Foundation, right? Again, if you're new to my channel, I get a couple new subscribers. No, it's a couple hundred subscribers a day. If you're new to my channel, watch all of my presentations for the last few weeks. Yeah, they were, through the Lifeboat Foundation, as mentioned last week, and through, of course, what? Teachers of Space, for those that remembered. They were taking these little ones off world to be what? Consumed by the Draco. Oh, all right. So, yeah, that's very sensitive. Every time I talk about that, it's gross. It's very gross. So apparently, I have only a couple spots left for my presentation regarding my autobiography. This coming 15th of February, I just got notification I only have 2 spots left, I think. So for those that want to access those spots, go to my website, scroll all the way down to In the Beginning. That's the one, February 15th, Sunday, In the Beginning. I also wanted to thank Susan K for her donation. Thank you so much. And Edward Wusick, and as well as what was her name from earlier? I almost forget her name. You know who you were. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is the best times to be living, but at the same time, with all these revelation, including what's been happening to the little ones, I mean, It's going to be a very hard pill to swallow to the unawakened. It's going to be a very hard pill to swallow, guys. All right. So I do want to acknowledge all 3,500 people that are in the house. Thank you guys so much for being here. And before I open it up for Q&A, I know today was a long presentation, but I feel like all of this needs to be shared, guys, because, a lot of people are losing hope. They're losing faith in the alliance and the White Hats. And yeah, the truth of the matter is, guys, we were still in the age of Pisces a year ago, 2 years ago, but I think the age of Pisces is ending this year. Okay, so sometimes we have to honor the equinoxes. We have to honor the energetic signatures that influence the different world ages. Okay, so with that having been said, I do want to welcome Fanny Lee in the house, Zero, Aluve 215, Lee Star, Anita Constant, as well as Deanne Johnson, Scott Lewis, Official Giampi, William Ryan, John. What's up, John? John's in the house. Diane 77 Unicorn, Starcadian. Yes, Madonna is a reptilian. He says Madonna is a reptilian. Yeah. And you know who else is a reptilian, guys, that needs to consume human, especially little ones? Lady, she performed at the Super Bowl yesterday. Oh, speaking about that performance, my God. Seriously, guys, I come from a Latin background. My first language was Spanish, but to hear a Latin pop artist sing in Spanish was a disgrace to the American English speaking language. Okay. I don't know. Even Mr. T had something bad to say about that. That was a horrible halftime show, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Anyways, and then of course, Lady G. Lady G is also a reptilian, but it's all right because that's to show you that the NFL is owned by the Cabal. And did you guys know that it's also rigged? Yeah, everything is rigged. Yeah, that's right. GAGA. Yeah, Kid Rock is cool. I like Kid Rock, but the performers that came before him, no, they had a. It was horrible, guys. It was horrible. But then again, they did do an opening ceremony with, of course, Cabal stuff as well as the Olympics. Did you guys watch the Olympics opening ceremony? Yeah, it was all full of Cabal symbolism. Okay, so I do want to take the super chats first. Thank you, Jacob Scherer. He says, "We appreciate you, brother Ishmael. Thank you, sir. You are welcome, Jacob." And I appreciate the super chats too, by the way. Thank you guys. Diane Molina, she says, "God bless you, Ishmael." Well, God bless you too, sister. Some of you guys noticed that I do have tattoos. Yes, I got tattoos when I was 16 years old when I rebelled. I became a punk rocker. So yeah, that book's not going to be published till probably the end of summer, August, September. But for only those that could afford it, I'm doing a presentation this coming Sunday, the 15th. Go to my website. In the beginning, the autobiography of Ishmael Perez. There's a lot of things that I'm going to be sharing regarding my life. Was Candace Owens taken? I'm not sure, but I do know that she is exposing the corrupt, infiltrated. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Turning Point USA. So yeah, it's full of Cabal agents now. It's no longer what it used to be. And for those that have seen my presentation 3 weeks ago, I did expose Erica Kirk as a honeypot. Okay, Erica Kirk, this whole time, she was bought and owned by Netanyahu. So make sure you guys watch those presentations from 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I think now. Ishmael, how will the atheists, Christians, and occultists react to ET UFO disclosure? Well, I think it's going to set them straight when you think about it. It's definitely going to put an end to organized religion as we know it. Well, that's coming. It's definitely going to put an end to the controlled academic, Rockefeller-run, of course, educational system as we know it. So yeah, it's going to cause a lot of changes, and a lot of this has to do with the trifurcation of timelines. It's happening, guys. All right, pretty soon, all of us here are going to be on the positive ascending Earth timeline. And yes, my friends, today is the 9th of February, 2026, and we are still steadily on a positive trajectory timeline. Thank you guys for all the super chats. I do want to acknowledge Ashley Gold 444 for her super chat. Thank you. When you're in public, concentrate on your soul and light in your toroidal field. That is true. Very true, sister. Focus on it, expand it, envision and intent your love and knowledge observing into others. It will affect others. That is so, so true. That is so, so true because believe it or not, the entire human race at large is connected through a unimind. Okay, it is an organic mind hive that connects all of us. How do you guys think telepathy is possible? Think about it. How do you guys think influencing the minds of other people is possible? Very true, and thank you for sharing that, Ashley. I hope a lot of you guys begin to practice that every day. I also wanted to welcome Patricia for being here, and thank you so much for the super chat. She says, Ishmael, great info tonight. The red book you spoke of earlier, is it the same as the red book shown in Trump's videos? That is a good one. I haven't seen those videos, but it very well could be. It very well could be, sister. You know, yes, we are still saving Israel for last. That is correct. Oh, and another thing I wanted to share, guys, and I hope they don't get me for this one, but there is evidence that JF, okay, the island guy, still lives. Okay, he also had a double, and a witness came forward by the name of, I believe his name was Roberto, who pretty much told the truth that they actually took him. They before they told us that he offed himself when they isolated him. That was a double. Okay, the real JF, let's just call him that. The real JF was taken over to Tel Aviv, Tel Aviv, Israel. All right, and he's been there with a grown beard. He's grown out his hair, and he walks around with, of course, security. So JF, you guys know who I'm talking about, right? He's still alive. Okay, just wanted to throw that out there, right? They told us that he effed himself. That was a double. Okay, the real JF was secured over, and that's why Israel is last, guys. That's why Israel is last. So I got to be careful here with what I say. No, not JFK Jr. I'm talking about JE. I'm sorry, not JF, JE. You guys know who I'm talking about. The island guy, JE. That's what I was talking about. Not JF. I'm sorry. JE. I got to get my initials right here. What's wrong with me? Yes, that guy, JE. Thank you guys for correcting me. Ishmael, were some of the little ones rescued, taken off world to heal? Yes, they were. And as I revealed last week, Galactic Commander Athena, working with the Ashtart Command, was the one who was the main rescuer within that mission. Okay, she rescued apparently a lot of the little ones that were taken off world. Absolutely. I do have another super chat from Peace124. When we get through this eclipse season, we will see more positive developments. Love you. That's true. Thank you so much for reminding us of that. Thank you, Jacob Shearer. He says, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you. You're welcome, Jacob. You guys are so welcome. I'm getting so much love and thank you. Thank you. You guys are so welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yes, Commander Athena, who works with the Ashtar Command, was instrumental in the rescuing of the little ones that were taken off world to be eaten by the Dracos. If you guys really want to go deep into the cosmic infrastructure, learning about the different councils, Earth's place in the grand cosmos, the cosmic history, take our cosmic origin class. That class is deep in the rabbit hole, guys. So deep that there are people that actually take the class over and over because there's so much information. All right. So if you guys really want to expand your mind, like it's never been expanded before, take our cosmic origin course. Strongly recommend. I do want to welcome Jackie Baby. Thank you so much for the super chat. Hi, Ishmael. Question: is Zionists and Jesuits the same? And can you speak on that, please? Another great show. You're welcome, Jackie Baby. Well, put it this way: the fake Jews that run the world, political Zionists, are the same as the KH Mafia, are different, you could say, branches of the Jesuit order. Okay, in fact, the Jesuit order is the modern day Sanhedrin, as revealed in my book, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. These are the same group of people that Jesus Christ himself called the synagogue of Satan, right? The same people that were running things back then have reorganized today. So yeah, they're all one and the same. They are the opposite, yeah, opposite bloodline. That's what they are, right? The Babylonian Nimrod Cain bloodline that was reinstalled after the flood, the human reptilian bloodline that is now trying to be the chosen people, calling themselves Jews. They're all one and the same. So yeah, the Jesuits, the KS Mafia, political Zionists, they're all one and the same. They're all, in other words, they're all genetically related. Okay, they're all genetically related. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. So many questions, so many questions, so many questions. I guess I'm just going to pick random questions. How do we make contact with others who are on this dimension and not aware of the attempt, but on another dimension are aware of the attempts? I don't know if I understand that question. How do we make contact with others who are on this dimension and not aware of the attempts, but on another dimension are aware of the attempts? I'm sorry, Deborah. I don't think I understand your question. Can NPCs have children that aren't NPCs? This is a question from Rob Bronco. Yeah, they could have kids. Absolutely, they could. but even their children will be devoid of a soul. Yeah, that's another thing that I noticed, that the Super Bowl ads were all AI created. Did you guys notice that? Now, I don't watch sports, but you know, I'm always interested to see the symbolism and what they do. And not to mention, some people were speculating that the EBS was going to happen during the Super Bowl. So that's why, I didn't really watch the game. I just watched the halftime show because that's where they, do their occult things, as you guys know. So that's the only thing I watch. I don't watch the game. I just watch the halftime show and the beginning of it, and that's it. Yeah, I could care less about sports. Didn't watch Super Ball. Speaking about Baal, the Babylonian god, was also the name of J.E., right? The island guy, J.E., the guy who was taken over to Israel and is double supposedly offed himself. He codenamed his bank account Baal, Baal. All right. And there was even an interview. I don't know if you guys seen that interview where the reporter asked J.E., "Are you the incarnated Satan himself?" Did you guys watch that report? Well, because he named his bank Ball, his bank account. He had a name for it. He called it Ball. So again, these are all incarnating aspects of dark entities, guys. A lot of these people that appeared human were not human, okay? They were, I'm sorry to say this, they were non human entities disguised as human beings, eating little ones, okay? This is sickening, The level of this disclosure, I mean, again, um, I don't even know how the unawakened, I don't want to call them normies anymore, how the unawakened is going to be able to digest all of this. But I guess they're just going to have to. What does the tattoo on your inner arm, right arm say? I knew I was going to get this one. Um, well, I tell you guys what, I'm saving it for my book. No, okay, I'll give you guys a little spoiler. When I rebelled, I really rebelled. Okay. It says, are you guys ready for this? Don't judge me. I was only 16 and I was depressed. All right. Because all of a sudden, this whole world that I was in was totally different than the world that I remembered. But it says FUCK authority. That's what it says straight out. FUCK authority. Okay. Please don't judge me, guys. Please don't judge me. Now I believe in God's authority, of course. Can you delete authority with Satan? Like FUCK Satan? That's a good one. Well, all right. Technically, I used to be into this band called Pennywise, and so that's where I get that from the band called Pennywise that I used to listen to. I used to also listen to Sex Pistols, Crass, which was a British punk band, Subhumans, Exploited, Misfits, not to mention Dead Kennedys. Dead Kennedys was the ultimate band. But now I listen to classical music. I listen to binaural beats and spiritual stuff. But when you guys really think about it, the whole punk movement was a rebellion against the British monarchy and organized religion. Technically, it was a rebellion against um, all organized institutions. Okay. Punk was like, to me, it was like rebelling against the status quo, becoming a nonconformist, you know, rebelling against the system. That's what it was for me. All right, let's continue here. Enough about me. I'm going to save that for the presentation. Thank you so much, ISIS14423, for your super chat, sister. She says, "Hey, brother, thank you so much for all this great info. Can you talk more about the Venusian Council?" Oh, I know I was going to get that. And the Queen mentioned. Thank you again so much. Well, I don't remember the name of the Queen of the Council of Venus, but what I do know is that when our world was secretly signed over to the Draco Zeta Gray Alliance, thanks to Hitler, Churchill, and Truman, um, immediately the United Federation of Worlds, also known as the Association of Planets, which pertains to our local star cluster, they were like, um, you could say they were, what's the word I'm looking for? They needed to create a different plan. In other words, they were worried about the Earth. Okay, so what they did is the Council of Venus petitioned the Jupiter Command that the Association of Worlds, which belongs to our local star cluster, it's an alliance of worlds, begin the intervention process to secure the positive timeline by installing the positive secret space program. Okay, so the Queen of Venus, who, by the way, was the mother of Commander Valiant Thor. Did you guys know Valiant Thor comes from Venusian royal blood? um, Petition. She was the one who petitioned the Jupiter Command, and it was approved. And so that's when Commander Valiant Thor was chosen to be the liaison between the United Federation of Worlds and, of course, Eisenhower, which led to the positive military programs. So yeah, that's who the Council of Venus is. They are our sister council. They've always been watching over the fallen Earth, because right now Earth is considered in a fallen state, and they've been waiting for a time to also support and intervene, but only as it is allowed, based on the, of course, galactic rules. You know, they can't intervene, but because the NNA, the negative alien agenda, NAA, violated the intervention, then only by virtue of that are they allowed to intervene and, of course, countermeasure and counter, whatever you want to call it, counterbalance the negative programs, if that makes any sense. So I should do a whole presentation on these councils. But again, take my cosmic origin class, guys. I go deep. Last super chat by Ashley Gold 444. A survivor of the JE said that she saw him transform into a reptilian. There you go. JE revealed was not human. Thank you so much for confirming that. She saw him transfer as a reptilian. She drew a picture of it. His features look familiar to another reptilian human. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Ashley Gold. So there you guys have it. Okay. The Epstein saga keeps getting deeper and deeper, right? All right, guys. It's been over 90 minutes. I'm getting really tired. I've been working all day. It took me 9 hours to put together this presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please share it with as many people as possible. And I will take one last super chat. Thank you so much. We have wings. Are there fallen angels living on the earth today? Yes, they are. Bill Gates, Dr. Doom, right? The guy who came up with that or pushed that on the American people. And of course, about over 60% of the deep staters. Okay. They are fallen entities. That's what they are. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to go to my website. I only have 3 spots left for that February 15 in the beginning presentation. I also have room for the Conscious Life Expo presentation on the 21st of February, coming up in about 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks. And anything else? Yeah, I'll see you guys in about 2 days for another Alliance update. May the God Force be with you all.